Imagine yourself reaching out to an inspirational figure in your life, suddenly traveling to a new country totally alone with just a duffel bag to your name, all in pursuing the dream of a completely independent, ocean-faring lifestyle filled with adventure. This is exactly what I did and how I, the newest member of the Adventureborne crew, started off a series of life-changing experiences. Now, as a woman, many of these actions are extremely daunting, but by stepping out of my comfort zone, I've put myself in the path of multiple life-altering moments, each of which can only be described as overwhelmingly beneficial. In this video, I'm going to deep dive into the steps I took to join Daniel's crew, the crazy adventures each day, everything I'm learning along the way, and an exclusive look at the ups and downs of the live-aboard lifestyle through my eyes, and the real truth of my first week with Adventureman Dan. Let's dive on in! Now you might be wondering, who is this person with a comically horrible dive? Hi, my name's Deia, and like many of you, I've been drawn to adrenaline, adventures, and nature since a young age. I've always dreamed of becoming a solo sailor and circumnavigating the globe, but I lack the experience and the connections to really make this happen. So what did I do? I started my search for a mentor. I really wanted to find somebody who could teach me these necessary skills like sustainability, free diving, spearfishing, and so many other things that are necessary to live completely off the grid. And that's how I came across Daniel. For a few years now, I've been following his journey and really learning as he teaches all of us the different ways that he lives his life and all of the wild experiences in between. Now, what first drew me to Daniel's content was his budget breakdown of what it's really like to live on a sailboat. I plan on living on a sailboat once I graduate from college, and I found this video extremely beneficial. It broke down living expenses based on where you're putting your boat, what you're eating, and all of the things that you wouldn't think of unless you actually led this lifestyle. I found other content creators were not as honest about the raw truth of what it's like to live on a sailboat, the good, the bad, and the ugly. After seeing this original video, I deep dived into his ocean harvesting, spearfishing, and free diving videos, and I just found his content to be very inspiring. I knew I had to reach out. Then began the actual crew process. I reached out to Daniel, and he told me to give him a 1-minute video explaining why I wanted to be part of the Adventureborne crew and what I could contribute while I'm here. I told him that I was really interested in having a mentor to show me what living on a sailboat is truly like. He was really receptive to this, and after our brief interaction, we had a full-blown 3-hour-long conversation via the phone. It gave me a much better idea of what he's truly like and if this was a compatible fit. After, I got to have a chat with Tiago, a past crew member, and get a better idea of the chores that I would be doing and what it's really like on Adventureborne from a crew member's perspective. I then talked with Daniel again, we fine-tuned the details, and I booked my flight. After hours of flights and restless excitement, I got to Granada. From there, I took the ferry to where we were meeting in Tyrrell Bay. We already had one issue. We had originally planned on meeting at a different bay where the ferry had said it was going to take me. However, they actually took me to Tyrrell Bay. So Daniel graciously, in the middle of the night with cliffs surrounding him, complete darkness, picked up anchor and came over to Tyrrell Bay to pick me up from the dock. When I got here, I saw him on the dinghy. He screamed, "Deia!" waiting for me. And I hopped on, the adventure began. I was so excited. But first I had to pet the local cows because they were just too cute. So I hopped on the dinghy, went back to the boat, and got to see Adventureborne for the first time in person. Immediately, it smelled so good inside. Daniel had cooked a home-cooked meal, and it was dinner time. Immediately off the bat from coming off the boat, I had an amazing meal waiting for me and such a happy person. Daniel really is just a ball of energy, exactly how you guys see him on camera. It was great to see the public figure that had really inspired me with this sailing lifestyle in person and get to chat one-on-one. I got settled in for the night. I went to bed with the first day down, and beautiful stars overhead. The next day, I rose with the sunrise and immediately went for a dip in the cool turquoise water. It was heaven on earth, looking at all the sailboats around me and really taking in the gratitude that I felt for this experience. We then set sail for Ashton, and I got a taste of the Adventureborne lifestyle. The waves were pretty rigorous, and I got to hang off of the side of the boat, letting my feet get splashed by the waves. It was such an adrenaline rush, and Daniel was there making sure I was safe along the way and having my independence, but still letting me live in the moment and being safe. We then had a little trust exercise. He looked over at me and he said, "How much do you trust me?" Kind of looked at him. It was like, okay, I just met this guy, but I trust you enough to go to a different country, so let's go for it. He threw a line off the back of the boat and told me to dive on in. So, trying to dive in, I slipped and I fell into the water. I immediately caught the rope and pulled myself back up. It was such a fun time. The second try I did much better, but the first was absolutely hilarious to start off our adventure. Once we anchored, we then went kiteboarding. This was really cool to see him in his element. I mean, the man loves to kiteboard. I got to take some amazing videos as he jumped over my head in the water. There were starfish all around, and it was just a gorgeous scene. Here I met Jay, and he taught me how to do different types of knots that I would need to know for my adventures to come. Jay is such a sweet guy, and I was very excited to have another mentor to help me along in my experiences and processes for the next few weeks to come. As I was taking the videos, Daniel pulled up alongside me and asked me to hop on his back to see what it's really like to kiteboard for myself. It was such an experience, and Jay captured the moment perfectly. It really shows you what type of person Daniel is, to think of the crew and really want to share those experiences with everyone, even when he's in his element, his moment. After kiteboarding, we went freediving, and he showed me a whole bunch of different things I had not learned yet. I had very limited experience freediving, and Daniel was such a great mentor in this area, as he definitely knows what he's doing. That night, it was a very calm anchorage, everyone slept amazingly, and it was a great end to our second day. On day 3, after a peaceful night's sleep, I woke up and chose chaos. Daniel had originally wanted to go to the beach and do some light yoga to wake up and really feel the sun rays on our skin. However, I had a different idea. I thought it'd be fun to rock climb up the mountain right next to us that overlooked the bay where we were anchored. This was an adventure considering neither of us had shoes and were not prepared for such an extreme hike that early in the morning. I'm a farm girl, so I naturally wake up at about 5:30 every day, so this was quite an early start to an amazing day. On the way up, I showed him what cactuses are edible, what fruit you could eat, and we started a really fun game that we deemed Dodge Fruit. Dodge Fruit was just exactly as it sounds. We started picking up these fallen circular fruits on the ground and throwing them at each other, just laughing and having a blast. Daniel got me pretty good, but I got him a few times as well. He had some crazy maneuvers that were out of a James Bond film. It was really fun to see him goofing around and starting to get more comfortable with me as crew. As we encroached on the top of the mountain, Daniel found this towel sitting between 2 trees. He picked it up and immediately tied it on himself as a cape. As he began to climb up, we climbed over the last rock face, and with his cape on and my fruit in hand, we got up to the very top of the mountain. Here, he showed me his Tarzan scream, and we woke up the anchorage to start off an amazing day. Once we got back to the boat, Jay and I went off on our own exploration. We looked around the town, got to mingle with the locals, and I really got a better idea of Jay's character as he explained to me the different types of vegetation, what was edible, what wasn't, what was in season, and all of the great knowledge that he bestowed on me. It was really cool getting that experience and having some time to soak in all of Jay's knowledge, as he's a really nice guy and obviously very eager to mentor me just like Daniel. Then we joined forces and went freediving together. Looking down at the ground as we dove around in this little channel, there were so many beautiful sea creatures, but one in particular that caught my attention. Laying down on the sandy bottom were orange jellyfish laying face up. I could see their tentacles and these weird green algae lay on top of them. Daniel then explained to me the symbiotic relationship that these jellyfish had with the algae and how they used them as their food source. It was really cool to learn something so interesting that not many people know about, up close and personal, and I had a field day bopping around the jellyfish. Day 4 began with a sailing adventure as we left Ashton Bay and headed over to Chatham. Daniel was an amazing teacher as he walked me through the step-by-step process of leaving the anchorage to coming into Chatham and anchoring down there as well. It was really great to learn from him and continue learning from him, as he gave me enough room to make some errors, but he still was there as a guiding hand. I learned so much just within this one day, and I can honestly say it's changed my life in a million ways. Once we got into the anchorage and settled in, we snorkeled around and I saw so many beautiful creatures. There were moray eels, cowfish. I absolutely love guppies and I saw them in a million different colors. We saw pufferfish, which I had in a fish tank as a little child, so it really brought out that childlike innocence and curiosity in me. When Jay and Daniel were tired of snorkeling around, I was still playing in the water, having an absolute blast. They let me go crazy as I snorkeled around, going underneath different pieces of coral, really enjoying all of the beautiful wildlife there. Then Daniel took me under his wing and gave me some more freediving experiences, bestowing his knowledge on me, which was amazing. I learned how to pressurize correctly, work on my buoyancy, and duck diving. I've freedived before, but I've never been trained, so having somebody like Daniel, who's a professional, show me the ropes was really great, as there were so many things that you wouldn't think of when you're first diving that are so important to get the most out of your freediving experience. After our little learning session, I picked up the slack and did my galley duties, making us dinner, cleaning up, and preparing for a calm anchorage. Day 5 started bright and early as I began my day with a swim. This has become a staple of my habits while on Adventureborne. I love the water, can't get enough of it. I need to work on my diving, but that's something else that Daniel will teach me. As for now, the fish get a great show. It's really nice to have this morning habit of immediately getting up, going out, and moving your body around. It helps me focus and reset, really getting an idea of how my day is gonna go, and waking up my body and my mind. Now, as I'm doing this, Daniel was journaling, getting his thoughts out from the day before, and we found this works really well. Being on a boat with such little space is definitely hard if you don't give each other separate time. We found this works really well as Daniel gets to contemplate the day ahead while I have some time to relax, move around, and get situated as well. Having this separate time is so pivotal, as being on a boat this small can get a little bit interesting. You're always right next to each other and always in each other's space. So having this separate time is so crucial for captain and crew. That way you don't get sick of each other. Then, joining together with Jay, we began our ascent up the mountainside to a beautiful meadow that Jay has been to before. This was such a cool experience as these 2 little dogs came up, one of which I named Pedro, and we all hiked up the mountain together, enjoying the gorgeous view of the boats below. It's such a wonderful experience just sitting in nature and really enveloping yourself in the moment with people that you know care about you and are such good friends. I felt so serene and peaceful as we sat there really taking in the moment. After that, we went a little bit higher up the mountain and we found an old cannon. This was really cool to see the history of the island up close and personal. Once we had had enough time to sit and talk with each other, we decided to head back down the mountain. When we got back to the shore, there were 3 little local kids that were playing around in the water. So, of course, like the energetic people that we are, we decided to play around and have fun. Daniel took one, I took the other, and we put them up on our shoulders and had chicken fights. We all threw around each other and they played sea turtle, swimming on my back as we went through the water. It was so much fun. We were laughing so hard that we could barely talk, and these kids were just having a blast. We all get to get out our goofy side a little bit and really just live in the moment. We then finished off the day with aerial silk practice, which I will say is a lot harder than it looks, and a beautiful sunset. Daniel was such a great teacher. He really showed me how to get a strong foothold and how to work with the winds. This is something that's in a lot of the different aspects of Daniel's life, whether it's kite surfing, sailing, aerial silks, you name it. Working with the wind is such an important skill that so many people don't have. He's got this innate sense of how to work with the wind and flow with it rather than working against it. That's something I'm definitely trying to learn from him, as it's something you have to practice to get good at. As I flailed around in the silks, we started dying laughing as we had an amazing ending to a wonderful day. Day 6 immediately started off with learning and growth. Jay showed me the different anchor types, he demonstrated how all the different components worked, and we talked about the differences between his and Daniel's anchors. This is really important because obviously the anchor is how you make sure your boat stays in one place during the night. So getting an in-depth idea of how all of this works and how it would pertain to me was extremely important. After Jay and I swam around and played with some starfish for a while, Daniel and I then began our next adventure. We had previously talked about training me in knife fighting as to protect myself as I solo travel around the world. Now I feel like Daniel is somebody that I can trust, and being in a safe environment practicing this sort of skill is really important, as I want to make sure that I am living my life freely but also in a safe manner. We dinghied over to a little private beach where we began our practicing. Now at first, Daniel was extremely uncomfortable playing an aggressor. Naturally, he's such a kind person, so putting on this role of an aggressor was something very difficult for him. Not only that, he had to think through the moves and the attacks before we did them, while I just had to hold a weapon and try to think of ways to defend myself. It took a minute for him to get comfortable with attacking a woman, and I don't think he ever truly did, but it was definitely a fun experience for both of us. Daniel has obviously never fought a woman, as many men have not, so this experience was completely new for the both of us, and honestly such a bonding experience as well. I personally have had many stalkers, and as a woman in today's world, you really have to know who's on your side and who wants to keep you safe. With Daniel, I felt this mentor relationship, but also one of a protective older brother, which was great, as he was able to help show me different moves to take care of myself in a situation of danger. He's a great fighter. He's very well versed from previous walks of life on defense mechanisms, so I felt completely safe in using his judgment on what I should do in certain situations. Honestly, it was such a productive session, and we were laughing by the end of it, just having an absolute blast. One of my favorite moments was when he had just taught me on my way down onto the ground to stab as many times as I could. And then we put it into practice, and immediately once he threw me towards the ground, I stabbed him multiple times in the back and the side. It was such a great experience, as it showed how amazing of a teacher he is and how well I could pick up the information that he was telling me. It really just solidified how great of a mentorship this is. I will say I'm proud of the mark that I got on his chest, which is still there. I feel a little bit bad, as he was obviously helping me learn a new technique, but it was really fun to see the adrenaline pumping and have a little laugh afterwards of how it really went down, and there's a mark to prove that Daniel has now fought a woman. With the adrenaline pumping, we picked up Jay and went over to a freediving spot that we had seen on our way over. There was a little blowhole with a cave that was just absolutely gorgeous. Inside were lobsters and all of these different sea creatures I had never seen before. Daniel was great at pointing out all of these different creatures, showing me what a chitin was, which I had never seen before, and making sure I didn't get hurt along the way, watching out and pointing at sea urchins so I wouldn't step on them. I played around in the tidal pool for a little bit. Jay and Daniel snorkeled around as well as I, and we just had a very peaceful, fun ending to all of our adventures for the day. But it was not over yet. When we got back, we had an amazing dinner, the three of us together, played cards, joked around, and really finished the day with a bang. When the night had gotten later, Jay left, and Daniel asked me what my favorite part of this action-packed day was. I looked at him and said, "The day's not over yet," and immediately grabbed a flashlight and jumped overboard with my horrible diving skills into the water, playing in the bioluminescence. It was beautiful under the moonlight, and Daniel shortly after scared me and jumped right next to me. It was such a funny moment as we were splashing around, hitting each other with the waves. I shined the light on him, and all of these little crabs started pinching at him. We immediately hopped out of the water and took a closer look at what was on the surface. This started a whole new adventure. With an old bucket, Daniel carefully scooped up the water from the edge of the boat, and we looked at what was inside. There were crabs, beautiful fish with fluttering fins, little tiny snakes, and of course my favorite, the squid. We began making a backstory of the squid and started laughing even more. It was a wonderful time and a great end to an action-packed day. The 7th day started with a deep dive down to the starfish below the ocean surface. These little guys are so cool as you pick them up and play with the little tentacles that come out on each of their 5 points. It was also a great way for me to practice free diving and get a start to what was a beautiful day. After my little swimming adventure, I came back and I began working on my galley chores as Daniel worked on the furler. We really got into the flow as we listened to music, jamming out, each of us doing our own work on the boat. It was a great time and really shows what it's like to be crew on Adventureborne. Yes, it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of amazing experiences. Daniel's a great teacher, but in return, you have to clean and take care of the galley as well as other chores on the boat, pulling your own weight. It's not fair to just come onto somebody else's boat and not pull your own weight, doing the chores that they ask of you and more if you have time. It's not fair to just come onto somebody's boat and expect them to do everything for you. It's really important to do as many chores as you can and help the captain, as they're giving you an experience you wouldn't get otherwise. I am eternally grateful for all that Daniel has done for me, and I show that through helping him out around the boat. As crew, that is one of the most important things you can do to show your captain that you're really cherishing and valuing the experiences that they're giving you. After our cleaning and tinkering, we set sail to a new bay. Daniel and Jay got their bro time as I wandered around the island, independent, seeing all of the sights and talking to the locals. This is a great thing that Daniel has done, as I'm a very independent person, so letting me go off on my own adventures has been beneficial for the both of us, as he gets his alone time and I get that free will. As I walked around the island, I spoke with the locals and saw a beautiful church up on the hillside. Walking down, I started playing soccer with some of the kids at the school, and I saw these tiny little holes in the sand, which turned out to be crab holes. It was really cool as they were scattered all around the roadside and all across the island, as well as these cute puppies that came up to you and just wanted your love and affection. Within this first week, I've seen and experienced more than most will in a whole year. Daniel has become my mentor in sailing, but also in ocean navigation, ocean harvesting, self-defense, free diving, aerial silks, solo traveling, and my own personal life coach, helping me live my life to my full potential. The secret of his success? Pure raw determination. He's fully lived up to my expectations from his online persona and the adventurous side you all see in his content. I've found 2 amazing mentors in both Jay and Daniel, who continue to broaden my network and connect me with other members of the sailing community while making me feel welcome in their world. With an end goal of living aboard my own ocean cruiser, I'd say I'm off to a pretty great start. As our journey just begins, I'm very excited to share with you all the next few weeks of my life. Let me know in the comment section below what a great name would be for my ocean cruiser. And as Daniel says, see you on the next adventure. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see all of this from Daniel's perspective, check out the link below.